Don't worry, folks, the relief you've been looking for is finally here as the Joey Kids administration is now cracking down on, you guessed it, junk fees. What's a junk fee, you ask? That's crazy. It affects all of us. It's definitely not a made-up term in Bribe for the midterms. It's something that affects all of us. Glad they're not prioritizing things like diesel fuel or the fact that eggs are $1,000 a crate, but whatever. Don't worry that the dollar in your pocket is eroding away and we're sending billions of dollars over to Prezi t-shirt. Don't worry that inflation is off the charts, your rent is off the charts, fuel, gas, home ownership, home repairs, car repairs, all off the charts. Worry about junk fees, overdraft fees at the bank. Because now, thanks to Jill Biden's husband, they're making it illegal. Oh, what a relief. Glad they're prioritizing the things that matter. Don't worry, now if you overdraft your bank account, it's not your fault, it's their fault. And if they charge you for it, more than whatever they deem to be excessive, I'm sure they'll be good at enforcing that like they enforce everything else, it's now illegal. So let's specifically talk about bank fees and overdraft fees. I was a bank teller for a few years and I have a good idea of how the consumer retail banking industry works. I will admit that when you don't have a lot of money, those overdraft fees are rough, and it certainly is something that is extremely frustrating when you don't have a lot of money. And yes, it seems unfair at the time, but I bet I could change your mind. Here's how it works. A bank, the retail banking institution, the local branch that you walk into to open a bank account, makes money primarily through mortgages and loans. Almost every other practice that the bank engages in is what's referred to as a loss leader. A loss leader is when you entice somebody to come into a business or into an institution to purchase that item that they know that they need, that you might lose money on, to entice them to buy a much more expensive item of which you have a higher margin, and that's where you make the profit. An example is a gas station. They only make a penny or two on the gas, or they might actually lose money on the gas, but they make a ton of money on the soda, on the lotto ticket, on the cigarettes that you buy inside. Diapers is another good example of this. They use that product, maybe lose on that product to get you inside, and then you buy another item with a higher margin. If you're a person that doesn't have a lot of money in their bank account, or somebody that overdrafts on your bank account, chances are you probably don't have a large loan with the bank. You probably don't have a mortgage with the bank. I can assure you they're making absolutely nothing off your account. As in fact, they're probably losing to potentially build up the reputation and the trust with you over time, so that when it comes time for you to take out a mortgage or a loan or a larger financial product that they could benefit from, that you'll have been working with them for years. You'll be familiar with them. They'll have a relationship with you. Your account loses the bank money. When I was a bank teller, these types of people would come into the bank all the time, and for example, they would complain about their overdraft fees. They would spend a few minutes depositing a check, taking money out, asking what the balance is in their savings account, calling in on the phone. I was an hourly employee. It was literally costing them money for me to interact with that person. You could quantify it by looking on a chart of how much time I spent with that single customer in a month. It was literally objectively costing them more money than they could possibly have made reinvesting the few $100s that person had in the institution. It was literally a loss. When it comes to bank fees and overdraft fees, if you have other products with the institution, or if you make a mistake, or if it was done in error, I was able to forgive those overdraft fees often, and it happened regularly. If you had a good relationship with the bank and it didn't happen that often, you could usually get them wiped by just asking for it. It was only people who repeatedly make this mistake that actually got billed for it. Many banks also offer things like overdraft protection, or accounts that don't charge overdraft fees for a certain period of time. For example, if you were to have a savings account that had $100 in it, in the event that your checking account was to overdraft, it would automatically draw from your savings account. So you wouldn't get hit with that fee. You would get a dollar fee or something like that. And like I said, if you built a relationship, if you kept a certain balance in your account, or you had certain accounts that didn't charge these fees because they had a monthly fee or whatever, you could avoid these fees very easily. Plus, the fact that it costs you some money to go into the negative, a lot of the time in these smaller accounts, they would never get that money back ever. A banking institution is going to pursue you for a $30 loss. There was accounts that would sit negative for a decade. And like I said, they're already losing money. So even though it seems unfair and predatory and whatever else when you don't have a lot of money, there are plenty of ways that they give you to navigate around this. And like I said, they're already losing money on your accounts. So by making these fees supposedly illegal, you're just creating more red tape that the bank needs to follow, more people that are auditing and following up with these banks, more wasted money on things that don't really matter and don't really affect that many people. You can take the precautions yourself. You can create an environment where this doesn't happen. And now that this happens, all that means is those banking institutions are just going to not provide this service to retail investors. They'll just say, if you don't have an account that doesn't have $500 in it, you can't bank here. Which means, oh, you were getting predatory fees? Well, now you'll have no account at all. Now, because Joey Dumpster and the federal government are getting their dirty, filthy paws involved in this very basic practice, these financial institutions will just say, like I said, you have to have a minimum balance of $500 or $1,000 or whatever else, or you're going to automatically get charged a fee no matter what. They will just follow the letter of the law as it relates to this new additional regulation, this new squandering of money. And the fee will have to be packaged in somewhere else. Because like I said, the retail investor, the person that's overdrafting on their bank account, makes the bank no money at all. Because this is what an all too powerful government that tries to bribe you for your votes does. They get you on this emotional cue, on this thing that you're being victimized. And now they're there to save you. And they use this emotional manipulation to bribe people that don't understand how things work or the negative ramifications of what will happen when they actually effectuate this policy. On top of that, this is a very small, insignificant blip in everybody's financial picture. There are far other things that they could be addressing and prioritizing, but this makes for a good press hit. It makes for a good emotional manipulation before the midterms. We're here for you, the little guy. Are you affected by this one thing while all these other things are affecting you? Don't worry, we're going to make it illegal for those big, bad banking institutions that have been providing you services at a loss. Their only play is that you're dumb. Their only play is that you're uninformed. Their only play is that you can easily be emotionally manipulated, persuaded, and bribed. Because they understand that the lowest common denominator, the easiest manipulated vote, is just as good as a vote that they have to actually work for. Because a business owner with 500 employees, or the full-time salaried employee, the person that really cares and thinks about and does their research as it relates to these elections, that person's vote is just as good as the person that doesn't pay attention at all, that has a $30 overdraft fee every couple of weeks. They're just like, hey, do you not know what's going on at all, but you have these fees? Come and vote for Joe. Vote blue. That's their target voter. That's who they're trying to bribe. They're not trying to get you with thought, discernment. They're not trying to get the person that understands what's going on. They're trying to get the person that doesn't understand, that doesn't pay attention, that doesn't otherwise know or understand the tricks that they're pulling. It's a bribe. That's why they love those inner cities. That's why they love the college kids. They want to find a person that appears to be victimized or thinks that they might be victimized, that they can emotionally manipulate and promise them the world. I'm here for you, the marginalized, the underserved. Give me your vote and then I'll save you. Then they round up all those votes and you don't see them for 4 years. Not only should this not be prioritized and not used as a marketing tactic and bribe right before the midterms, but this affects so few people. And if they were to just total up all of these fees combined, that's how much we squander on needless programs overseas, probably every month. I bet if we just repositioned money that we squander overseas or in these other bloated, needless programs, they could probably pay every one of these fees off straight away and still be fine. But instead, they're going to create this red tape, bill all of these banking institutions, create an additional regulation that's just going to cost you, the supposedly underserved or victimized person, more money, or maybe make it so that you can't have an account at all. But by then, the votes will be cast and they'll be gone like the wind. It's a bribe, it's an emotional manipulation, and it's a trap. The better solution for all people of the world is less red tape, less regulation, less dirty, filthy paws engaged in the free market economy. It would allow you to keep more of your resources. They create the problem, they sell you the fake solution, and they come back in 4 years. Don't fall for it. Smaller government is always the answer.